we're looking at data centers that are being expected to be delivered within 18 months or even shorter in some cases.
We are looking at an era where NVIDIA is trying to put data center in your house.
We came in from projects where working with clients who said the Taj Mahal was built without BIM. Why do I need BIM today?
Hello, myself architect Kaushik from Desapex, handling the business development. I'm here to speak regarding fast-track data center deployment with the data center experts. With us today, we have two panelists to speak regarding what's the importance of data centers in the current scenario and to say regarding how the fast-track deployment can be done. Before we start, can we get a small introduction with two of you?
Hi, thank you for having me, Kaushik. Myself, Shreedhar. I'm working with Desapex as an associate partner, taking care of the data center delivery. Thank you.
Hi, myself Nikhil. So I'm leading the digital project management in Desapex. I deliver most of the Swedish projects, data center projects.
So my first question is, why is data center fast track deployment is currently a burning topic in the current industry market?
You want to go first?
No.
Right. So talking about data centers, right? So we're looking at a traditional construction project having a time period of 36 months, 48 months, but we're looking at data centers that are being expected to be delivered within 18 months or even shorter in some cases. The reason of fast track development, one thing you can directly associate with is the pace at which there is demand in growing of AI applications or any data center hosting based requirements that there are. Many of the newer upcoming startups, newer products, newer applications, all are expecting a lot of computation power, where the source of that computation is the data center, right? So the requirement of applications are increasing, and there is a need for parallel data center deployment happening, required to be happened in the meantime. So I think that's the primary requirement of having a fast track development in a data center.
Another point on this is there's a mandate now. All your data has to be hosted within the country. Most of the countries that is a mandate.
Right.
So in every country you need a data center. So that for India being an economy and people with a lot of people, to host that much data, we need a lot of data centers. It needs to be built here. That's why Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all the big hyperscalers they're building a lot of data centers in India with large capacity.
So, with respect to the roles what you take in the data center industry, how the data center has been evolved from the beginning to a current scenario and trending AI market?
Yeah. So there are two ways to look about this. So one is in terms of the uh, amount of construction that is happening for data centers, right? So the complexity as well as the amount of power consumption or the resources required for a data center to be developed has increased tremendously, where now the rack densities are being looked at are 10x, 20x, 100x of what we had in the past. So that is one of the primary changes that have happened in terms of the requirements of a data center. But parallelly, the resources to achieve that increased density is scarce.
So, say packet density is more. So the overall IT load capacity what is needed is more. So you need infrastructure, say power infrastructure. That is one of the major things which comes in. So every time we build or upgrade a data center, we need to update a parallel substation along with it. So we are in that scenario. In addition to that, water requirements, especially in India, where our climate is comparatively on a higher when you compare to European market, it is more water cooled. All your HUs, everything is needs to be water cooled. So that's where a lot of natural resources need to be used to cater to that need. That is what is happening.
Okay. And when usually a client comes to you in the current scenario, most of the developers and clients want to build a data centers, and they come with their requirements with the stipulated timeline. So how you make them realize that there is a way to start with the project and to give them a brief that it can't be so fast tracked. So how you make them understand the current market?
So that is one of the biggest challenges that you begin with when you start planning for a data center. One thing that needs to be understood and made clear is fast track does not just mean that you are crunching timelines, but rather you are doing multiple things parallelly to make sure that your design, your procurement, your construction activities can be planned in a way that they are running almost parallel to each other, so that the time that is required for individual aspects is being covered while you're not compromising any quality aspect. But what you also need to be prepared, what we tell to our customers, that are you ready to take decisions that fast to make sure that the outcome that you're expecting is done within that stipulated time, right? While design, construction, and everything else can be done faster, it is you as a owner who is going to spend, let's say, lots of money now as well as for its operation. Are you ready to take decisions that fast? If yes, no.
Oh.
No, as you said, but it doesn't matter. So clients say, okay, I want a drawing yesterday. So that's their mindset. So it is a growing problem which we are facing, but the way we tackle is we add more resource, like a manpower, to get the delivery done. So that is how we have to take care of the project. Because if we don't do that, there are other people who are ready to take up that responsibility. In addition to that, as you mentioned, when you see, it is not just in the design phase. So it starts from the site selection phase as well. So your there is your land suitability is something you have to take care. So technical due diligence, site due diligence, all those activities needs to happen parallelly in a very short time. So that is something which is a growing issue we are facing. So as us as consultants are not given enough time to make an assessment. So we try to do it in a maximum possible way, but later we might be ending up with dependencies which can cause problems in design. Say, for example, see a foundation design. Say, for a large scale data center, you need to do a certain number of geotechnical investigation. So, to make the due diligence, you do the analysis, but with limited boreholes, and you make an assumption.
Correct.
So, again, so when you go into site, so there might be things which are surprising, and we end up having to revise a drawing. It is a process.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's, are we ready to take that risk? Right? To if we want to front load the decision making, right? So I'm trying to make all of the decisions done before I start my construction. So my decision taking ability and my risk appetite should be assessed, and then gone ahead to deploy my 18-month or 16-month or 6-month timeline for construction.
They're sitting on a big capex,
Right.
So because they're not worried about that, so it might be something a small chunk based on the output which they're going to receive out of it. So they are also willing to take that risk. So the overall risk, when you compare it to the say interest which comes out, the capex, this and that, it is very minimal. So they are also ready to, all the clients are ready to take the risk.
Yeah. So the next thing what comes to mind is in this data center topic is the jargons like modular and prefabricated construction, what trending now. And with your perspective, what are the pros and cons when it comes to data center market? Is it going to be feasible one, or there are any cons to modular construction?
I think if you're looking at a crunch timeline or you're looking at the 18-month, 16-month timeline, there is no way you can achieve without considering prefabrication or modular construction. right? So again, I was talking earlier about taking that risk of front loading our decision process. So in order for us to make sure that we are achieving our timelines, we're looking at prefabrication. That means that before I, let's say, hit the site, my design needs to be 100% ready, right? I have to make sure that my finalized outcomes in terms of, I don't know, like uh, down to the last pipe that has to penetrate a specific wall or go into a shaft needs to be finalized so that the entire structure is well planned out. So there has to be a significant amount of coordination between multiple systems and their delivery timelines to be managed, which will work wonderfully if all is well coordinated. And it's the pro, of course, for any data center, but it's just about making sure that the front loading of these decisions are done early and you are well coordinated.
Few of our interaction with clients in Finland. So when I say site diligence, that is something which you have to identify a site. And now what they do there is they have big large warehouses, existing factories, existing buildings.
Yeah.
What they do is they don't no, waste their time on identifying the right site. So they take the buildings, they put containers, these modular data centers.
Right.
Now we know how powerful each chip. NVIDIA is pushing out chip every AMD or every GPU every other week or so. That's how fast it is developing. Uh, so what they do is they modularize it, container size. Only thing they need is an additional generator. All other things are within that modular container size, and it is self-sustaining. So that's how the world works.
And I think that case study that Nikhil just spoke defeats the entire timeline that you have, right? So, for example, almost 30%, 40% of your time will go into managing and developing that structure of that core and skill of the building. And considering that very example, you're only looking at the primary data center activities and not the redundant or let's say not really adding any value to you, the structure. So the design as well as the construction of that major chunk is eliminated, and you can even look at much crunch timeline for a data center to go live.
In India, especially, like say PSUs, like say FCI, this and that, there are a lot of say old warehouses, this and all that.
Correct.
Right. They can be easily utilized. You don't need to depend. All those things are old industrial buildings where already power supplies are there. So I mean, you might need to upgrade a few things. So a lot of money can be saved there, and but modularizing it, I mean, a lot of time can be saved. Now we are looking at an era where NVIDIA is trying to put data center in your house. So basically, each house having a small data center there, the rent, your power is taken up there. That's situation.
Just to look at it the other way, earlier you were storing some grains, now you're storing data and chips.
So now we have spoken regarding design aspect. When it comes to project management aspect, so what stage of construction or design project management has to be structured, and what happens when the project team comes too late in the design aspect?
Now it is not the case. So now, say your concept is approved. So based on that drawing, they send it for your say permitting and also you get the initial approval. So but your benchmark is there. So this is the power requirement. This is the building boundary. All those things are laid on. So there is no gap there. Then it is about designing and upgrading. So by the time I build, say that's where they do say stage-wise commissioning of data centers. They don't go about commissioning all data centers together. So multiple colos might be there. So they commission each colo one by one. So when I do my first colo, my design for a second colo might be happening. So that's how it works. So there is no time gap to wait until all the design for all 5 colo is done. So all 6 quarters done or 10 quarters done. It is just design is happening in one phase, parallelly your execution is happening on site. Certain times we get drawings maybe a day or two before the execution. Then there are situations like that as well. And maybe an area which is commissioned or done gets needs an upgradation by the time the construction is done. That is how the situation.
So design and project management goes hand in hand, yourself.
And change. The existing what we have done in a few months. So that
right. Okay. I have a different perspective on this. So while this aspect that you mentioned is right, I think there is also a critical aspect of procurement and your supply chain being structured well, which the example that you just highlighted gives enough time for you to roll this out phase wise. And you also get to learn what issues and concerns you had with the earlier phase one design and construction activities, and then bring that learnings into the next phases. So supply chain management will be one critical aspect for you to ensure that your contractors on board, they are equipped with the required items to be brought onto site. Look at the procurement of those, the long lead times of some of these large scale equipment or data infrastructure is very critical to be managed. I think project management uh, for a specific data center will go beyond your just design construction and will have to take into account of how you will roll this out, and let's say how is your next set of tenants or your team who will be coming in to take this space up. Most of the data centers that we are seeing are let out and for people to come in and build and bring in their own equipment. So it is very critical that you time this design, construction, and handover in a seamless manner, so that you're not waiting for your tenants to come in after, let's say, 6 months of your construction.
Mostly the case, as you mentioned, supply chain is an issue where now the orders placed a year, 2 year in advance. So that's the real truth. That's a demand. So it is not only just your data racks or your RAMs or your hard disks, HDDs. Not only that, your transformers, batteries, all individual components which were cables, the length of cables which are there, it is huge. All those things are long lead items and which needs time to be procured, time to be transported,
manufactured.
Sourcing the materials required. So now you know, how the silver rate has shot up, gold rate has shot up. So demand and supply is where the industry is going.
Right.
So we have seen so many issues and that you faced during execution. So what do you feel that has to be followed and structured such measures can be taken to so that issues doesn't occur during management of the execution phase?
Most of the cases, how we try to do is we leverage BIM as a tool. So we have the design model initially, then we give the contractors or subcontractors the access to their existing models. Electrical guy has their own model, architecture guy has their own model, mechanical guy has their own model. Then initial design is clash free. There are no issues. But when you come to execution, there are a lot of things that your panel size increases, your cable size increases. They are trying to optimize their cost and their profit. Yeah. So there are a lot of coordination which goes in, but that, as we say, it happens parallelly along the execution. So by the time, on a timeline, I would say, by the time my construction of the core and shell is complete, all my services needs to be coordinated. So that is how we try to schedule. So, and that is done area-wise. It is not just done together for the whole complete area. So based on the planning sequence, we make the specific area clash free and send it for clear for execution. That's how we tackle the projects.
Yeah. So one important aspect that we have to take into account in this specific scenario to avoid reworks or concerns on site is to bring the execution team early on in the design. right? So the integrated project delivery is what we have to more adopt in all projects, not just data centers. If you ask me, where the design development that is happening should reflect the construction considerations and on-site challenges that there could arise, which a contractor or let's say an execution team would be in a better position to help or assist the design team to take those decisions early on. And design for manufacturing and assembly can only work when we have such a joint effort of teams that can bring in both execution experience as well as the core engineering requirement of this specific data center. Only then you can anticipate that you will end up with, let's say, some percent lesser than what you would come across in a traditional engagement, but changes are bound to happen due to some non-availability of material and you have to change on site or some site constraint that you did not anticipate, right? So, but in my opinion, IPD will solve majority of the concerns there.
Another one is we try to deliver a project in a certain amount of time, but the changes which comes in, no, which is happening parallelly, uh, that might have a knock-on effect on what is done and coordinated previously. So you have to go back and change the duct size, say, of what is coming. All those things and makes coordination very easily. So that is where we use BIM as a tool to try to find a way out, try to optimize the design. So that's how we try to deliver our projects. So I think initially BIM is never, not a common thing which we used to do in India at least. So people are saying, okay, what I see in today, yeah, this is just to see. That is how they put it. But it's not the case. So coordinating things, it ensures things are delivered properly on site.
So in the current market, BIM and data center, how important is BIM in the data center industry in the design phase, construction management phase, and operation stage according to you? Is it a prime requirement or does it work without it as well?
So essentially, if you see BIM as a uh, foundational core of your design, construction, and operations, that is where uh, BIM will work out for you the best, right? So, looking at BIM as just the visualization tool will not serve the purpose of why you would want to invest such time, effort, and resources on spending doing something that you could have done without, right? So, uh, it serves as a central backbone across your life cycle of data center. And again, I keep using the word risk because you're able to identify those potential risks much early on so that you can bring your design team, your construction team, and your operations team even to take feedback into how this can be fully delivered as a project. I think there is no project should go without BIM as a foundational tool and not as an added feature to your activities in the project, but rather that should be how you plan your project.
Not just in the construction phase, in the operational phase as well. So that's where your digital twin, existing, we have SCADA, this and that, but digital twin, schedule maintenance, all those things, all those things, data center has comes to redundancy. If it is not maintained properly, there is downtime, and people don't want that. You're crossing your, say, when Facebook decides to shut down for a day, or Instagram starts to shut down for a day, and people goes into panic mode saying, okay, what happened? My Instagram is not working. So there is, in this scenario, there is very less chance for
Yeah.
downtime. And it is involved with cost. So the minute you are, say, your social media goes offline, the share market down comes down, their price is down. So there are a lot of domino effect associated with multiple things. A minute chip, a minute hard disk can cause a major domino effect.
There is no doubt whether or not we should use BIM anymore. So that is the minimum level maturity that has come across all capex developments. That is for sure. It is only about how effectively can you use is the only gap that we are seeing, where why BIM is not a question mark anymore. It is answered already. People know it. Even the owners are saying. The only thing is how effectively should we use is something that some of the owners still require some sort of reference and understanding as to how it can be taken forward. So that, of course, like we came in from projects where working with clients who said the Taj Mahal was built without BIM. Why do I BIM? Why do I need BIM today? To yeah, we need BIM, but not knowing to the extent why. How can we fully utilize, right? So there is that evolution that has happened. People have matured in terms of information security, information management being done better. It's now taking to that next level where you can call BIM 2.0, where the added benefits or the real benefits of BIM can be taken.
So, next 5 years of data center faster deployment look like with the current market?
So every time we start a new project, by the time we finalize the design brief and concept, that concept almost looks obsolete, right? There is always a new technology coming in, higher capacity of racks coming in, or newer technologies that can be brought in. Client requirements, as in, we have to remember that the data center, when the data center developers who are building co-located data centers also have clients who have their own requirements. So they have customers who have their own requirements. So there is a long lead of long dependency chain where every requirement is evolving, right? The amount of data that we were consuming is rapidly increasing. Now every time you run a prompt in Claude or ChatGPT, you are consuming a lot of where you're consuming a lot of data where it is exponentially increasing, right? So 5 years, if you ask me, for a data center is, if you're comparing other projects 5 years versus a data center industry is 5 years, it's multi-fold difference, right? So prediction of a year or two within a data center market is very difficult. And I think with liquid cooling and higher density racks coming in, there will be a major consideration of power infrastructure that we have to plan. As in, before I plan my data center, I have to plan whether there is enough power infrastructure or water infrastructure available for me to make that happen. I think that future proofing our 5 years of data center will start with not planning a data center, but rather planning our primary electrical and water requirements.
Yeah, and second that, now what we can do is we can look for, say, alternate, so means also power, so maybe, and it's alternate more renewable like nuclear, say, solar is there, but it has its own limitations, and again it has similar supply chain as your data center related items. So the power requirement is not less. So, and India being, and as I mentioned before, a nation with billions of people, we need the power supply to the houses as well. So unless we we lift the development in a proper structured way, our houses may not have power. So that is something which we need to look at with a keen interest. Not only power, water as well. As I mean, liquid cooling is, but that has its own complications and so on. So yeah, it's intriguing 5 years, I would say, which is ahead of us.
All of us are looking forward to, and evolving and learning. So there is no day I think that goes without having a new development in some of the AI technologies or infrastructure developments that are happening. So it's an interesting curve that there's going to be, and I think modularized construction, containerized data centers, liquid cooling,
Underwater.
underwater, undersea. I think this you cannot predict a data center market if you ask me.
R&D is happening between various firms,
Right.
what we are not imagining. So,
Right.
and that also need AI. So people are using AI for doing the R&Ds and trying to make it more environmental friendly and more optimized. I would say.
Yeah.
So I think we have covered most of the topics in this short duration regarding faster deployment of data centers, right from design, concept, construction management, project management to operations, covering almost all the topics with your expertise, what you have done so far. I hope this session was an insightful one for the audience to know how the faster deployment is happening in the current scenario in the current market, and what is the current future of the data centers and how it can be deployed in Indian market and in Indian industry. And thank you both of you for giving your time and valuable insights on data centers.
Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to be
Thanks
here.
for having this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good day.